Welcome to this new episode of Working with AI Agents. In this episode, we'll look at a use case that I think very many companies will find interesting. We're looking at business developments. Can you use AI to do business development? Is AI actually good at it? We didn't ask the question to one AI. We tested 9 AIs in total in different configuration, and we compare the results. Here we go. First, we concentrate on one specific task of business development, that is finding new target customers. How do you identify companies that could be your customer, and how do you reach out to them? To start with, we wrote a very comprehensive prompt using our framework, the one we teach in our AI training, that will go through 3 steps. First one, based on our existing customers, analyze what these customers are in common, find another 20 customers who are similar profiles, and finally, prepare a personalized message to send on LinkedIn that will talk only to that company. We want AI to do full personalization of the first message that is going to be our approach on LinkedIn, talking to these 20 potential new clients. For example, here, this is one of the AI that we use. We test DeepSeek V3. Based on this prompt, the AI is looking for similarities. First, it's listing similarities, finding 20 new clients. They sort of make sense. Some of them we already know, some of them we're already talking to. And then finally, personalization messages. Here, this is a message that talks to somebody at L'Oréal. And actually, although we didn't ask, this AI has decided to target a specific person inside the company, a specific position. And we'll get to that later when we do the comparison. And we have messages, and all these messages are different. If we look at another one, so here we have DeepSeek R1, it's following the same process, but because it's a reasoning model, we're getting something that is both more structured, more organized, and also shorter. Here, the analysis is shorter, but then directly when it's listing the companies, it's already listing the position that we should be talking to. Very similar. It's the same model. It's just another version, and then messages that are targeted. In this case, we only get 5 messages. That was also the case with DeepSeek. That's one of the short-term coming of DeepSeek. It was not able to generate 20 messages. We can always ask, give me the other 15, but that's how DeepSeek was doing it. Now let's look at the overall results from this one. These are the 9 AIs that we use to run that test, that comparison test. These 3 are text models. That's why we use our small text model icon. These 2 are reasoning model, Copilot, Think Deeper, and DeepSeek R1. For some of the models, we had the option to add a web search, so not only rely on the model internal capabilities, but actually go out and find information. And we'll see that the same model with and without web search have very different results. And finally, we have full-on AI agents, totally autonomous, multi-step process, able to do search, but also break down into different subtasks and run for a very, very long time before giving us the result. These are 9 AIs in these 4 categories. And of course, we use AI to analyze the results. Yeah. So we compile all the output, we cut them into the 4 major steps, and we use AI to compare the quality of the result. For the first one, we did a semi-manual analysis. We looked at the characteristic that the AI found into our existing customers. And we decided, because we know our customers, we know them better, which one was the most valuable, second and third. So we found that French heritage is worth 5 points, global APAC heritage is worth 3 points, and knowledge-intensive workers is worth 2 points. Based on that, we computed a score for all these guys. The agents are at the top, but Kimi K2 is also quite strong, found all 3. And then we start to go down the list. Copilot Quick, K2 plus web didn't do better than K2, actually. Having a web search for this didn't help. And then we go down to reasoning model that is absolutely not getting it and missing almost every single point. Of course, the quality of that first point, what are the characteristics that are common to our user, is going to influence the second part, because these models are, if they have the wrong parameters, they will not get us the right leads at the next step. Nevertheless, the ranking is not the same. As you can see, Kimi K2, although it didn't get exactly the right target, caught up and finally is on the top of this one. Now, how did we compute this one? This one we didn't do manually. This one we let one AI analyze the result of all the AIs. Because we have all these customers coming out in this 9 times 20 list, we can have a look at which customer appears most often. And in that case, it's L'Oreal that happens in 8 out of 9 cases. And then Danone, 7 out of 9, and so on and so on. And based on that, we can go back to the list and we can see the total number of points based on how frequently those AI found that particular company. In other words, we use the collective intelligence of the 9 AI to rank individually those AI. Agents are still coming out pretty strong, but K2 with web search was able to find companies that are really into our target. But DeepSeek R1, on the other hand, did very, very, very poorly and came out with companies that maybe they are good targets, but they are not the most obvious one that we should target first before we go and maybe target other companies. Third, we looked at contacts. Even though we didn't ask in the prompt for specific position or specific people, as we saw earlier with DeepSeek, for personalization, it's a good idea to have a persona, to know who we are talking to. Implicitly, for good personalization, we need to find the right position and the right person. On this one, the results are very, very different. First of all, from the bottom up, 3 out of the 9 didn't even consider a position. Dear contact, nothing else. Of course, personalization is not going to be that good for these models. Then 6 of them decided that they needed a persona. They need to know, are we talking to the learning and development HR? Are we talking to the CDO? Are we talking to the IT manager? Who is the right persona that we should target into the company? But out of these 6, there are even 3 who came out with actual names, real people who sit in that position in this company. GenSpark, Kimi, and Kimi with web option, they gave actual names. And in the personalization, they will say, Dear John, Dear Jane, Dear Paul. They will craft the email with that person in mind from their position and their real name. Problem is, not all of them are accurate. For Kimi K2 without access to the web, some people exist and are in this position. Some people exist but are not in that position anymore. Because relying on its internal knowledge, the model may have outdated data. But Kimi K2 with web found 90% accurate people sitting in that position right now, because these could be gathered from the internet. And GenSpark found 100%. Now, having a real person sitting on a real seat is not actually the whole story, because GenSpark at 100%, because they targeted global CEO. We're not going to write to the global CEO of a multinational company for an AI training opportunity in Asia. That doesn't make sense. That person is way too high. Kimi K2 with web decided to target contacts in headquarters. It's also not optimal. They are 90% real people, but they are not really the targets that we can sign and that we can communicate at the right level. Actually, only Kimi K2 had the right level contacts in APAC. They're only 40% accurate, but at least from a decision point of view, these are the real target. And finally, the quality of the message. We gave 3 criteria to the AI that analyzed those results. Personalization. Is it really talking to that person, that position, and but especially that company? Does it relate to the company? Is it relevant? Does it relate to us, what we have to offer? And is the message consistent for us trying to sell our services? And finally, the quality of the call to action, and the AI automatically calculated another role score. These are the results. Kimi K2 still very, very strong. DeepSeek R1, that was pretty bad on the other one, is actually fairly good at generating messages. Anything that is a 4 or above actually is giving good results. Anything below, I wouldn't recommend to use them to generate mass personalization of messages. And as we saw earlier, DeepSeek V3 only gave 3 emails out of 20 companies. So we'll have to push it again to give us the missing 15. Here are some examples of the email that were generated. We took on purpose a 5, something that is deemed perfect according to our free criteria. Very well written, to the point, call to action, very direct, very on point. So it can be ignored, but if the answer is yes, then we know exactly that person knows exactly why that person will be on the call with us. GenSpark is a bit longer, a bit more diluted, and again, talking to the wrong person because GenSpark is talking to a global CEO. And finally, Copilot 1.8, very generic, nothing related to the customer, and somehow not much related to what we do. It's more a bunch of keywords, really global marketing jargon. Nobody will reply to that email. Finally, what's our conclusion based on these elements? The first one is that we made a mistake. Running one global prompt for all 4 steps of our process was a mistake. We should break down that prompt and we should run it as a chain of prompt. Why? Because first of all, every step had different performance based on which AI we are using. Breaking it down into 4 prompts, meaning we can use the best one for the first one, second one, third one, and fourth one. But most importantly, we can do course correction. If the first prompt, our AI doesn't give us exactly the criteria that we think are relevant, we can have a critical opinion. Or if it gives 5 criteria that the AI think is important for finding other customers, we can eliminate the 2 that we think are not relevant, and we can adjust it. For example, we can move from French heritage to European heritage because we want to expand our range, and because recently we've been signing with Italian and German companies, so now we have references that are European companies. So if we were to break it, we will do those corrections. Instead of French heritage, we'll move to European companies. If the AI on the second step is trying to target the global CEO of Fortune 500, we say, no, we need a business contact in APAC. And finally, we can specify a little bit more the requirement for the CTA. We can say that we want a 15-minute call, or we want and it's for a free consultation. We can really give more information by looking at the emails and refine our prompt. And breaking it down in 4, we can optimize both the results, but also the cost. For deep analysis, the first one, agents are actually pretty good. For lead company and lead contact, we can use search model. Kimi K2 with search gave the best performance on both. And to craft the email, actually, they're all good. We can go with a DeepSeek R1 or another one, as long as the prompt is detailed enough and give exactly the elements that we want to put into our email. Can we do business development with AI? Absolutely. AI can tremendously accelerate your business development if you know how to prompt, if you know which tool should you use in which position, how to break it down, and if you have a critical opinion about the result that is given to you, and you can correct it until you have the 4 prompts that are going to give you amazing results in a few minutes. Register to our channel to get more insights and get our future episode on how to use AI agents.